When an NFL owner screams at a head coach, it's a massive story. But when the entire city marches on a $1 billion stadium to make sure that coach never steps foot on the field again, that is NFL history. Kevin Stefanski didn't just lose the locker room. He didn't just alienate his franchise quarterback. He just triggered a total civic meltdown. Breaking news tonight. The Atlanta Falcons are on lockdown as thousands of protesters have officially stormed Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The fans have had enough. After Stefanski admitted to ruining Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, the city of Atlanta warned the front office that disrespecting Deion Sanders' legacy would not be tolerated. But when reports leaked yesterday that Stefanski was giving Michael Penn Jr. the silent treatment, the fan base snapped. Today, thousands of fans bypassed social media and took it to the streets. They breached the outer plazas of the stadium. They held up signs letting Arthur Blank know that if Stefanski is still employed by tomorrow morning, they are canceling every single season ticket in the building. The police are currently trying to secure the perimeter, but inside the executive suite, a completely different type of panic is happening. We just received a massive leak from a Falcons insider regarding the paperwork president of football Matt Ryan is desperately trying to finalize right this second to end the madness. Subscribe and hit the bell right now. If you want to know how much money Arthur Blank is paying to formally terminate Kevin Stefanski tonight, click that button. Let's look at the firing contract. Things in Atlanta didn't just get tense today. They completely detonated. What started as quiet locker room whispers has officially exploded into a full-blown civic uprising. And the Atlanta Falcons front office is currently in a state of absolute panic. When the Falcons announced the hiring of Kevin Stefanski as their new head coach, they probably thought the minor controversy surrounding his time in Cleveland would blow over like a missed preseason field goal. They assumed fans would complain on Twitter for a day, buy the new merchandise, and show up on Sundays like they always do. Wrong city, wrong move. Atlanta doesn't forget, and it definitely does not play games when it comes to its own culture. Right now, waves of Falcons fans are actively revolting, demanding that billionaire owner Arthur Blank cut ties with Stefanski immediately. We're not talking about background noise. We're talking about season ticket holders pulling their money, corporate sponsors getting nervous, and an organized protest outside the team's facility. Today, we are going to break down the massive financial strike currently crippling the Falcons, the secret mutiny happening inside the locker room, and why hiring the man who allegedly sabotaged Shedeur Sanders was the single biggest misread in the history of this franchise. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because the National Football League is currently watching a masterclass in consumer leverage. Let's get into it, the Cleveland Ghost. To understand why the city of Atlanta is absolutely burning right now, you have to look at the massive unresolved tension Stefanski left behind in Cleveland. The anger directed at Stefanski isn't just emotional fluff. It is rooted in cold, hard historical tape. Before stepping into the NFL spotlight, Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a good college quarterback. He was statistically rare. He posted a surgical 71% completion rate, throwing for over 7,000 yards with an elite touchdown-to-interception ratio. He operated the pocket like a seasoned veteran and played with a level of confidence that franchises dream about. Then Cleveland happened. Instead of building a modern offense around that specific generational skill set, Kevin Stefanski stubbornly glued himself to his rigid, outdated system. There was absolutely no flexibility. It was a classic case of an old-school coach demanding a dynamic player shrink to fit his mold. The playbook suddenly felt incredibly small. Vertical strengths were underused, reads were limited, and Shedeur spent entirely too much time holding a clipboard, while scouts openly acknowledged he was the most gifted arm in the building. And when the offense inevitably struggled under that restrictive framework, whispers began circulating about Shedeur's work ethic and attitude. It was the classic coaching survival playbook. Protect your job and redirect the blame to the flashy young quarterback. The ultimate insult. The Deion connection. Atlanta fans watched that entire situation unfold from afar. They saw a brilliant young talent get diminished by a rigid system. When the Falcons announced they were handing the keys to their franchise to that exact same coach, the city reacted like the front office had just fumbled inside their own 5-yard line. But this goes vastly deeper than just football exism. This is about culture, and it is incredibly personal. The Atlanta Falcons and the Sanders name are forever linked. That isn't just marketing fluff. It is franchise DNA. Back in 1989, the Falcons drafted Deion "Prime-Time" Sanders. He didn't just play defensive back. He fundamentally changed the identity of the entire city. He brought a level of swagger, cultural electricity, and unapologetic Black excellence that made Atlanta feel bigger and cooler than anywhere else in the country. The bond between the Sanders family and the city of Atlanta is generational. So, when the Falcons front office decided to hire a head coach whose defining recent legacy is his highly publicized toxic friction with Deion's son, it felt like a direct insult. It felt like walking into the house that Prime built and rearranging the furniture without asking. It was a massive, unforgivable misread of the room. The financial strike. The fans didn't just complain on sports radio. They got incredibly organized, and they went straight for the franchise's jugular revenue. In a matter of hours, a massive resistance movement was formed. Reddit pages exploded with thousands of active members compiling spreadsheets and breaking down film to prove Stefanski's incompetence. But online outrage is one thing. Showing up in person and threatening the balance sheet is what actually scares NFL owners. On what should have been a quiet Saturday morning, thousands of Falcons fans descended on the team's practice facility in Flowery Branch. They brought megaphones, coordinated signs, and massive banners reading, "Sabotage has no place in Atlanta." News helicopters circled overhead, and a routine hiring announcement officially transformed into a national public relations emergency, but the real damage was happening in the ticket office. Over 200 longtime season ticket holders, people who hold premium, incredibly expensive club seats, drafted a formal certified letter directly to Arthur Blank. The message was simple. If Kevin Stefanski is wearing a headset in September, we will not renew. And they backed it up. Screenshots flooded social media showing automatic payments being turned off and renewals being canceled. We are talking about hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of dollars in guaranteed revenue evaporating before the team even takes a preseason snap. Corporate sponsors are quietly calling the front office, terrified of having their logos associated with protests and controversy, the locker room mutiny. But the absolute craziest part of the story is what is happening inside the building. On the surface, the current Falcons players are completely quiet. There are no dramatic interviews or public outbursts. But silence does not mean approval. It means strategy. NFL contracts are massive, but they are also loaded with strict non-disparagement clauses. If a player publicly trashes new head coach, he faces massive fines, reduced playing time, and the devastating label of being a locker room cancer. But according to deep insider reports, the young superstars in the Falcons locker room are absolutely terrified of Stefanski's arrival. They are a roster in development mode, and they just watched how Stefanski treated a developing star in Cleveland. They do not trust him. Instead of speaking to the media, players are allegedly using anonymous back channels and private messages to secretly support the fan protests. They are quietly encouraging the fans to keep the spotlight hot and keep the pressure on the front office. You have a fan base acting as the loud, relentless voice for a locker room that is legally forbidden to speak. IT is an incredibly powerful, almost unprecedented dynamic in modern pro sports. Right now, the executive suites in Atlanta are a complete war zone. Billionaire owner Arthur Blank is reportedly livid. The finger-pointing has begun behind closed doors, with executives desperately trying to figure out who pushed the hardest for the Stefanski hire. The PR department is in full crisis mode, and team president Matt Ryan is preparing for an emergency press conference that could define the next decade of Falcons football. This isn't just about today's protests. It is about tomorrow's future. Elite free agents are watching this chaos unfold. They are looking at the internal tension, the fan revolt, and the toxic leadership, and they are crossing Atlanta right off their list. The Falcons front office thought they were hiring a head coach. Instead, they accidentally declared war on their own city. And right now the fans are